Hi, and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is March 15th, and we're on page 45 of the magazine. And today's article is kind of really shocking because, well, in my lifetime, I've seen the world population hit 5 billion, 6 billion, and 7 billion, and I never expected 8 billion, but, the intervals are getting smaller and smaller because we're going up that curve, that terrible, exponential curve. And so today I want to announce that the global population hits 8 billion. Well, it did back in November 2022, but I just want to say, wow.
Yeah. 好，我们今天这篇文章的标题，中文标题是全球人口突破80亿。好，这很不得了。
Yeah. Okay, so let's read this kind of very scary but amazing article. Humanity reached a milestone in November 2022 when the global population exceeded 8 billion people. Reaching this number means people are living longer with generally better access to healthcare, food, and sanitation than past generations. Along with passing this milestone, many demographic changes are expected to occur in the coming years. A United Nations report shows that the world's population will increase to around 9.7 billion people by the year 2050. It is predicted to peak 3 decades later at approximately 10.4 billion people and stay around this number until the end of the century. What's interesting to note is that more than half of the population growth up to 2050 will come from just 8 countries: the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, the Philippines, and Tanzania. Although the population is increasing, it isn't climbing as quickly as in the past. The global number has been growing at its slowest rate since the 1950s. In fact, the rate has been below 1% since 2020. Furthermore, fertility rates have been steadily declining over the years. Around 2/3 of humanity lives in countries with fertility rates below 2.1 births per woman, which is the number needed to maintain a population. Meanwhile, the share of the global population aged 65 and above is rapidly rising. It is predicted to rise from 10% in 2022 to 16% in 2050. Countries with aging populations should adapt their policies by establishing or improving universal health care and long-term care systems. So, humanity reached a milestone. A milestone is literally, originally, a stone put at the mile marker to let you know how long you'd been traveling. This has been done for centuries. It's just a stone to either let you know that there's a border that you've crossed or how far you've traveled from a certain center. And so it's literally a stone that lets you know a distance. So we're using this as a metaphor now. So it's a milestone that the global population has exceeded, has gone past, has become bigger than 8 billion people.
OK, 我们看到 humanity 这个字呢，它是指 humans regarded as a group， 好，所以它指的是 the human race。所以人类呢 reached 达成了 a milestone 一个里程碑，在2022年的11月，那达成什么里程碑呢？那我们接下来 when 就是在2022年的11月呢 when global population 就是全球的人口 exceeded， 好 exceeded ex 就是 out， exceed 是 go 就 go out 就是离开了走出了，其实也就是穿越或者是多出了，就是超越了的意思。surpass S-U-R-P-A-S-S 那在这里也可以说 to be greater than， 所以全球的人口呢超越了80亿，人口超越了80亿。
Reaching this number or passing this number means people are living longer. Everyone has longer lives, with generally better access to healthcare, food, and sanitation than past generations. So if you have access to, it means that you can get it. So we in Taiwan have really fantastic healthcare system, and we also have a really decent food system and sanitation systems. Well, let me first say what sanitation is. Sanitation is getting rid of solid and liquid waste. So waste treatment plants. We now have waste treatment plants across the entire island, and we have garbage and recycling systems, and we have a fantastic healthcare system. So we're doing really good here. We've got good access to all of these things and much better access than past generations. What's a generation? It's basically a group of people who are linked by being alive or having been born at the same time.
好，就中文讲的世代，一个一个的世代，generation。那我们看到这个地方，他讲到开头呢，他的这句话主词是个动名词片语 ，reaching this number 就达到这样的一个数字 ，means 表示什么样呢？表示 people are living longer， 人们现在活得更久了。with 就是附随的状况伴随的状况。那 generally 一般来讲呢，现代的人活着的时候，他们会有怎么样？会有 better access to better access to 就是更容易取得。那为什么大家会比较长寿呢？因为大家现在更容易取得 healthcare 医疗 food 食物。那 sanitation 呢，这个是公共卫生的一些设施，其实它特别指的就是 the disposal of sewage and waste 这个污水跟垃圾的这个处理这特别 sanitation 指的就是这些东西所以像什么废弃物处理厂污水处理厂都是属于 sanitation 那 sewage 这个字的拼法是 S-E-W-A-G-E 所以呢，现在的人他有比较好的医疗，也比较能够取得食物，那公卫设施也比较好。那 then 比起 past generations， 比起之前的世代，现在这一代的人这些条件都比较好，所以大家都 live longer。Along
with passing this milestone, many demographic changes are expected to occur. Demographic is a word that means like the structure or the qualities of a group of people. So like if you can talk about different demographics and who you're advertising to. So are you advertising to the 20 to 30-something demographic? Are you advertising to the retiree demographic? It's basically segmenting people into different categories, and then we call that demographics or demography. So these changes in who makes up our population, basically, are expected to occur in the coming years. And I'm just going to say, when you talk about demographic changes, you're basically saying people are getting older. That is honestly what it's mostly trying to point out here. Demographic changes often is just substitute for saying aging populations without saying that directly, because that sounds terrible.
好，所以呢，这个地方我们可以看到，他说 along with 就是和什么什么同时，除了什么什么之外除了这个 passing this milestone 超越这个里程碑，那 many 有很多的 demographic changes。 demographic 就是与人口有关的，或者跟人口分类有关的。那刚刚这个 Angela 老师讲说，这个 demographic changes 通常就是用来其实指的就是人口老化这个问题啦那所以这些问题呢，这些改变 are expected to 就是预期会 occur 发生 in the coming years 就是在未来这几年会慢慢发生这个问题。
So a United Nations report shows that the world's population will increase to around 9.7 billion people by the year 2050, which is about 28 years off. In about 30 years, we're going to have 9.7, nearly 10 billion people.
Wow, 那所以呢，一个联合国的报告 shows that 指出这个世界的人口 the world's population 会 increase to 会增加到大约97亿人这是 by the year 2050 到2050年的时候，全球人口大概会到97亿人。
And it is predicted to peak 3 decades later. If something peaks, it means it gets to its highest point and then starts reducing. So they're predicting it to get to a high point after which it will reduce 3 decades later. So by 2080, we'll get approximately or about 10.4 billion people, and then it will stay around this number until the end of the century, and then presumably will start to come down because they said the word peak.
好，那我们可以看到他说呢，这个 it is 就是指世界的人口 is predicted to 就预测会怎么样 peak 就是达到高峰通常感觉起来就到这里，接下来可能就会往下往下走了。所以会到达高峰是30年之后 3 decades later。 那这个时候呢，高峰是多少呢？高峰的数字是个数字，是个值，所以用 at。 所以到达高峰大概是怎么样呢？ 差不多 approximately 大约是104亿的人，然后呢会 stay around this number 大约会维持这个数字 until the end of the century 一直到这个21世纪末大概就会一直维持这个数字。
What's interesting to note or to pay attention to is that more than half of the population growth up to 2050, so these new people are going to come from just 8 countries. And these 8 countries is a very interesting thing because these are countries we don't think of now as being world dominant, but, just based on population, they are going to be. And that is the Democratic Republic of the Congo, of course, in Africa, Egypt in Africa, Ethiopia in Africa, India, Nigeria in Africa, Pakistan, just next to India, the Philippines over here in Southeast Asia, and Tanzania, also in Africa.
好，那接下来他说，各位可以把这个 chunk 这个语块学起来。What's interesting to note is that. What's interesting to note is that. 就是一个值得我们注意的有趣的事情是什么呢？是 more than half of the population growth. 这个人口成长里面呢，有超过一半是怎么样呢？而且这个人口成长是 up to 2050, 就一直到2050年，人口成长里面有超过一半 will come from 会来自于 just 仅仅 8 countries, 仅仅8个国家所以这8个国家在未来到2050年之前呢，它人口成长会非常快速。那哪8个国家呢？刚果民主共和国、埃及、伊索比亚、印度、奈及利亚、巴基斯坦，还有呢菲律宾，还有坦桑尼亚。
So, although the population is increasing, it isn't climbing as quickly as in the past. So, we're talking about acceleration versus speed. The speed is still there, but we're not getting faster. We're not getting faster as fast as we were before. So, we're getting more people, but it's not the rate of new people as it was in the past.
好，所以呢，虽然人口 is increasing 在增加当中，但是呢 it isn't 并不是 climbing 就是攀升，它并没有说这个像攀升，怎么样个攀升法呢？它的攀升并不是 as quickly as in the past， 它的攀升并没有像过去那么的迅速，也就是它现在人口增加的这个幅度没有像过去那么大了。
The global number has been growing at its slowest rate since the 1950s. So the number of new people coming has actually been slower than it has at any point since the 1950s. However, 100 people giving birth to babies as opposed to 10 people giving birth to babies, even if they're doing it at a slower rate, they're still going to produce more babies than the 10 people.
Yeah. 好，所以这个地方他讲到 the global number 全球的数字 has been growing，它的成长是怎么样 at its slowest rate 就是以最慢的速率成长。那自从1950年之后所以人口成长的速率已经是最慢的了。但不过这里 Angela 老师有指出一点当然人口的基数越大，那就算你的人口成长率低，但是人口成长量还是很多的。也就是说10个人这个在生小孩跟100个人生小孩，虽然说100个人他们的速率可能比较慢一点，但是产生的人口还是很多的。
So, in fact, the rate has been below 1% since 2020. So, in the last 2-3 years, it's been less than 1% of new people showing up.
Yeah, 那事实上 the rate 就是人口成长率呢是低于 1%， 从2020年之后就低于 1%。 那我想其实很多人注意到这个其实是台湾很大的一个问题台湾的人口成长率太低了那日本也很低所以日本他们最近也发现这个问题非常严重因为人口成长率低的话，人口越来越少，这个会造成很多的社会问题，还有国家力量的问题，所以这个其实是个很严重的问题。
Furthermore, fertility rates have been steadily declining over the years.
那此外呢 fertility rates 就是生育率 have been steadily 就是稳定的持续的 declining 下降，decline 就是下降走下坡to slope downward 或者 descend D-E-S-C-E-N-D 就是往下滑。那 over the years 就是这些年来呢生育率也是往下走当然可能全世界的趋势是这样，但是其实我刚刚讲的台湾是特别严重的。
Now, around 2/3 of humanity lives in countries with fertility rates below 2.1 births per woman. So That is the number needed to maintain a population. By maintain, we mean exactly replace the number. And so a lot of places are actually not replacing their population. And depending on who you talk to, this is or is not a good thing.
Yeah. 那我们看到这个句，他说大约全人类呢有2/3的全人类呢是 lives in countries 住在一些国家。那这些国家呢是怎么样？是 with fertility rates 他们的生育率是低于 2.1 好 per woman， 就是这些国家他们生育率呢是每位妇女他们生出来的小孩子是低于 2.1 个，所以这个很多人他们现在其实很多地方的很多人类他们的生育率其实是下降的。那各位这里还要注意到一个文法的问题，就是 2/3 of humanity lives 它是用单数动词。好，所以 humanity 这个字呢，虽然说它的概念上面我们刚刚讲是 humans considered as a group the human race， 但它当主词的时候它的动词是用单数的，像这个地方它是用 lives。 好，那所以呢这个刚刚这里讲到说大概有2/3的人类生活在一些生育率低于每位妇女生 2.1 个小孩这样的家庭里面。那这样的一个数字 which 就是指每一位妇女要生 2.1 个小孩，这样的一个数字呢，这样的一个这个出生率呢是怎么样？是 the number needed， 就是我们所需要的一个数字。我们要需要这样的一个数字，每一位妇女她必须生出大概超过 2.1 个小孩，我们才能够怎么样 maintain a population， 才能够维持人口数，也就是人口才能够持平。所以 which is the number that is needed， 我们需要这样的一个数字才能够 maintain a population， 才能够让一个地方的人口能够持平。
Meanwhile, the share of the global population aged 65 and above is rapidly rising. So this is what we mean by demographic changes. We mean that basically the global population is aging.
好，所以呢，在此同时 the share 就是所占的比例 of the global population 全球人口的这个比例里面呢，有65岁还有超过65岁的人，这样的比例 is rapidly 很快速的升高当中所以这也是人口方面另外一个问题，就人口老化的问题所以很多国家包括台湾尤其是台湾现在面临的问题日本也是有同样的问题，就人口老化，一方面是人口老化，一方面是出生率下降所以这些都会产生一些问题。
It is predicted to rise from 10% in 2022, so 10% of the population being 65 or older, to 16% of the population being 65 or older in 2050, and I will proudly be one of those 16%.
好，所以这个 it 就是指 the share of the global population aged 65 and above， 就是这个全球人口里面年龄超过65岁的这样的所占的比例呢is predicted， 这样的一个比例被预测会 rise 会升高，从 A 升高到 B 点，从 A 点升高到 B 点，那 A 点就是2022年的 10%， 会预期大家会升高到2050年的 16%。
Countries with aging populations like Taiwan should adapt their policies to change or grow or make them work by establishing or improving universal health care. The United States, you need to do this. And long-term care systems. So care systems that are not just putting somebody in a hospital, because hospitals are not set up for long-term care. And in Taiwan, even though we do have some long-term care, we don't really have a good long-term care system, especially for people who are not going to have families, because a lot of these 65 and older people in 2015 are not necessarily going to have family care systems.
好，所以呢我们看一下这个句子，他说 countries 国家，什么样的国家呢 with aging populations， 就是人口在老化中的这些国家，叫做 countries with aging populations should 应该要 adapt their policies， 应该要调整他们的政策。好 adapt 它就是 to make suitable to 或者是 fit for a specific use 或者 situation， 也就是要调整然后呢要调整他们的政策，怎么样调整呢 by 他们应该要 establishing， 他们要建立，或者是 improving， 或者是改善什么东西，他们可能要建立或改善。首先第一个 universal health care 就是全民的健保， universal 在这里不是指宇宙的意思， universal 在这里指的是 including all members of a group， 好，所以是全民的 health care。 另外呢 long-term care system 就是长照体系，长照系统台湾现在开始很多人注意到这个问题了，long term 就是长期的， care system 就是照护的体系，这个不是指医院，这个就是安养院啊，还有这个长期照护老人的，不一定是安养院，也许你到家里面去照顾他们，这样的一个体系，这个必须要想办法建立，而且或者是要改善这些体系。
So we have some questions here for you about the article, number one of which is, according to the passage, when is the global population supposed to reach its peak?
好，根据本文，全球人口应该在什么时候会达到巅峰呢？
The UN predicts that it will reach its peak at C by 2080.
好，答案是 C， 2080年，好，也就是2050年之后的30年，就是2080年。
Because we said, 9.7 billion people by the year 2050, and then we said it is going to peak 3 decades later, which brings us to 2080. Number 2, why is a fertility rate of 2.1 births per woman significant? Why is it meaningful?
好，为什么每名妇女要生 2.1 个小孩，这样的生育率为什么很重要呢？
The answer is D. It is the number of births a population needs to maintain itself, to replace the father and the mother.
好，所以答案是 D， 这是人口维持自身数量所需要的出生数。我想这里面不是说生一个死一个，而是说你要生 2.1 个，因为你还要计算到有些人可能这个没有办法成年啊，或者是同时你要计算到死亡率啊等等的，所以大家算出来就是你要有每位妇女要生 2.1 个小孩才能够维持这个人口的本身的数量。
And number 3, what are governments and aging societies?Governments of aging societies advised to do?
好，这个 aging societies 我们可以把它翻译成为高龄化社会，所以高龄化社会的政府我们建议他或者他们被建议要做什么呢？
And the answer is B, better healthcare, create better healthcare, or better could be a verb like to improve healthcare.
答案是 B， 要改善健保。好，那 D 有的人会觉得说，这好像也不错啊，这支付长者的医疗费用，这好像跟长期照护有关系。但其实长期照护这个长照系统不一定是表示说有人或者是不管是政府还是这个企业怎么样支付你的医疗费用啊，这并不是同一件事情。所以 D 这个选项不对，所以我们要选第二个选项，改善健保。好，那另外 A 这个选项，有的人可能觉得，好像提高生育率也不错啊。但是其实提高生育率是你可以做的方法啊，但是其实你还要处理的是现在已经高龄化，有这么多高龄化的人，所以你还是要注意这些人。所以其实要么就是要改善健保，要么就是另外一个就是要改善你的长照系统。
Yeah, because we need to take care of these people regardless.
Yeah, 因为你还是要照顾这些人的。
So it's better to set up the system now while we can. So,On that note, let us leave you, and we'll join you again tomorrow for more Ivy English. Until then, bye-bye.